There he is.
Holy crap, it's here. It's me.
I thought you were
I was
gonna say
supposed
Holy
your whole
crap,
name,
it's
and I'm like, oh
Tori.
my god, holy crap, it's Tori is saying her holy crap is
Oh my
name.
name. Holy crap. Holy
It's me.
cannoli.
Can we just
What?
start every sentence with holy crap?
Yo.
Holy crap, it's DM Masterclass.
Holy
Yep.
crap, it's Plasma Coin.
Right. Exactly. See?
Holy
Like,
crap, let's learn and reflect.
Ah!
exactly. I hope y'all have your notebooks and pencils and Google Docs ready. It's finally here. Me.
Hooray!
Holy crap, it's Tori. Resident DM of very long campaigns on this channel. And boy, I've heard some rumors that my DMing has been spoken about in several different streams in several different places. Also, I've been asked to give a DM masterclass because several of my friends are like, Tori, anytime you talk about your DMing skills, I am oh so excited to see what you do next, and I want to learn more and wish you could write this down for me because you've been talking for 65 years. I don't know why they all turn into Eartha Kitt, but regardless,
I don't know
here
why
it
they
is.
suddenly aged you up 35 more years.
Right? I don't know
When
either.
you're already having a complex, but whatever.
Yeah. You know what? It happens. Like the thing is, I've been essentially 30 since I was 9. So
Well,
I've been here for a while. It's been a while.
fair enough.
It's I could eat my bird seed well.
See, I was gonna say it's been a while since I woke up and didn't feel ill, but
Aww.
You know.
my back has been
Relatable.
aching for a while. But anyhow,
The
hi, we're here. So it's my masterclass with ATP and Zero. They're here to
Hello.
listen. They're students number 1. Chat, I want you all to be like obsessively asking questions in the middle of this, though we will have an open discussion at the end because I like reading totally. So let's continue, ladies and gentlemen, with my masterclass. And the first thing it starts out with, because it's me, is myself. So let's talk about me. Because being a DM,
I'm
you
gonna take notes on this.
Oh my god. Tori's favorite
because
food.
exactly. So first thing that I want to say as a
Bird.
DM, know who the heck you are, because you are the one DMing. It's you. Wow. So
Oh.
while online, I am only a DM or Toji's number 1 fan. I do have a lot of other interests at heart. Many art has been made of me that you'll see later tonight. I'm an anime lover. I'm a dweeb, which is just a nerd mixed with a weeb. So a dweeb. I love horror games. I'm a beautiful criminal justice advocate. Wrongfully convicted people should not be convicted. I only eat breakfast foods, and I love psychology. So find
Is
out
that
what your
pancakes
interests
or
are.
waffles?
I think they're just pancakes.
Okay.
That's pancakes, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I kind of liked it because the butter and the syrup made it look like an egg, and it made me cackle. And I was like, "Damn, who puts a fucking like sunny side up egg on their waffles?" And then I
Oh,
saw
low
the
key, it
like,
does.
I couldn't
Yeah.
unsee it, so I used that one in particular. But then it like dribbles into syrup, and I was very confused. So I had to use that one.
Now I want
But
to put a
yeah,
pancake with a sunny side up egg on top, and then sandwich that between a waffle and a pancake just to annoy people.
that
I
sounds
bet
like
Rhett and Link have done
diabetes.
that before.
I can only imagine. So yeah, that's me. And a lot of this will come into play later on because my interests reflect deeply into the stories and the campaigns I wrote. Who would have thought? So let's start DMing. What should you think about when you're starting to DM or when you want to get into starting to DM? This is a very long slide. So it's very long.
Damn.
And I didn't feel like bulleting each of them out click by click because I was lazy. So find out what inspires you / a reference that you want to pull from. Me, we'll get into my references probably in the next slide. I've looked at this slide 8 different times and even edited it right before the stream. And guess what? I still don't know what's next. Surprise to us, I have comprehension disorders, as we learned in the Poppy Playtime. which chapter 3 is out. Don't worry, we'll be playing it at some point.
Oh
But
damn, chapter 3
regardless,
is out?
yes, it is.
Oh
I
fuck.
cannot wait.
No worries, we'll get on it soon, folks. But also, it's probably good to know what story you want to tell, because that's your job as a DM. You are telling and leading a story and building lore, which we'll get into. No worries. So, my first basic thing, right back to English class, baby. Start, middle, and end. Are they subject to change? Abso-freaking-lutely. Have I just changed the end of my campaign to the one that we're about to be streaming on February 20th? Yes, I have. And I am so excited for it. So, but just come up with a rough start. Usually the start is pretty solid. You never ever really change it unless some other things show up. But just come up with a basic frame. Whatever you want to tell, have a start, middle, and end. Very rough. And I mean, my roughs are literally, my start is I want to have a group of inmates. The middle, I want them to have a scene change. The end, well, I'm not going to tell you guys that, but then there's an end. Like, it's literally a single sentence. Then, how do you want to tell the theme of the story? Whatever you want your whole campaign to kind of be like underlying and going about to build more depth. You can do it through fighting. You can do it just through usual role play. You can do it through puzzles. I don't know who would ever do that. Or just straight traditional D&D. There's
Yeah,
always
who
the
would do that?
pre-made campaigns, and there's nothing wrong with that. Which brings us to our next point of what comes naturally, creatively to you. You don't always have to follow the sheep, aka me, or the black sheep, also aka me. Do what's most comfortable for you. If you think a pre-planned campaign, writing a cute little book that you paid $20 for is your kind of shablangboom, it ain't mine, go for it. It's a good starting place. Do I wish I would have done it? No, I have no regrets. But, or you could go with me and go fully scratch. I've seen people try to merge both. I'll be honest, it don't go well. Choose one or the other. And if you are gonna like look at a pre-planned campaign but make your own world with it, that's very different. People who start in a pre-planned campaign, one of the usual books, and then go off on their own free form, for whatever reason, I've never had a campaign that I've been a part of go well with that. Start the book, end the book, start from scratch, end from scratch. Merging the two, not a fun time. Which we all want to have fun, especially you, Mr. Future, Mrs. Future DM. It should be fun for you because you are also a player in this campaign. Whether you're talking the most, whether you are knowing what's going to happen, you need to be having fun telling the story and interacting with them, the players. So, what will make this fun for you as well is another thing to really think about, and what kind of medium is best for you. With my campaign, as we know, there is several different levels that I find very enjoyable. I like making murder mysteries. I like making puzzles. I like having off the cuff NPCs that end up somehow becoming favorites. And with all of this, if you're gonna do the crazy style that I do, you need to be organized. And if you are not organized, look up some tips. Me, I use Google Docs. This is how my outline is, and this is then how a lot of the other stuff goes. Just on the actual document. I have it all
Oh.
dated. I have it, and fun fact, this is from one of my first campaigns. That is my first
Oh.
campaign, The Cursed Egg. We'll get into that in a minute, baby. Don't worry. But then I have it all bulleted, so it's easy for me to read, for me to click exactly on my outline where it's at and where I need to go. And I take notes at the beginning. As you saw, I used to do recaps, and then I realized, well, I wrote this out. Why am I recapping it? That seems pointless. So I stopped. So overall, though, you can easily do it however you want. The more organized, the better. Just like sketching and drawing. The more detailed the sketch, the better your art is going to turn out. At least for me. But as we know, I am weird as a DM. I don't do traditional things. I have not seen any of the Dimension 20, any of the Matt Mercer, I think his name is, stuff. I haven't seen any of it. I've seen clips, and that's about it. So, how do you find your niche? It comes naturally, usually, 9 times out of 10. But if you just like, you really have something you really, really want to focus on, look at References. This is for any art. Look at bloody references. It's not bad to reference. It is not. So, however you want to use your reference, look at how it's highlighting what you want from it. Why are you choosing it as a reference? Look at how they are using what you like about it and how it can easily translate into DMing or the campaign you're running. For me, I know what my niches are. I love me a good, deep, complex lore. Don't worry. As we know, that's why we're all here. We all want to know how Tori builds giant, deep lore. We're getting there, ladies and gentlemen. Puzzles. Y'all saw it. We spent 3 sessions probably on one puzzle.
Shut
I
up.
like to get I like to get the player involved. I like to get them mentally going because why? Tori loves psychology. Well, look at that. Who would have thought this all would be connected? And then improv. The yes and rule is genuinely what I go by. You just say yes and. It's comedy gold. It always works. But if you are going to do improv, you better be noting down when you're doing random things off the cuff, because if you're not streaming it like us and can't just watch it back and be like, what did I do? Trust and believe, you better write it on down in that nice detailed Google Doc. Or if you could read your own handwriting, mine's crap. So, I don't read my own handwriting often. I can read it, but we all saw how long my notes are. I'm not writing all that out. There is a beautiful, beautiful system for me to write it all out, and that's called Google Docs. So I'm going to use it. And from there, that's kind of how you find your groove. Find out what you really want to be your core values of a DM. When people look at your campaigns and they're like, damn, Tori's just known for this, this, and this. Do I think everyone's going to say these are my 3? Absolutely not. Do I believe they're mine? Absolutely. So let it come naturally. Now let's figure out, if I'm correct, how I use references and what I pull references from. So for me, I like video game mechanics. This is where I get a lot of my puzzles, or making my battles much more dynamic, or adding
Who would have thought?
additional layer.
Yeah, really.
Who would have thought?
Mm.
Who would have thought? I remember like this really like, oh cool! I was just about to bring up the TV from said game.
Who would have thought?
Wow, a Silent Hill reference in the Masterclass? Who would have guessed?
Right.
I know, right? It's not like it's just amazing writing.
It is like it's flawless in my eyes. 10 out of 10.
Oh, it's
I
so
also
good.
love anime. We all know this. I am an anime #1 Toji stan, and how anime tends to pace out their storylines. I rip it right from their book. They always leave you with a hook at the end of an episode to be like, oh, I want to come back for more. So I do. I come back for more. If you haven't seen Orange, very sad, very good. Not as sad as Erased, but a solidly good one. Trigger warning, it is for mature audiences, as some of the topics they talk about are dark, despite how happy this anime looks. And then, last and for all, theorizing and other game lore. And what other channel could I help but not totally love, who talks about lore and theorizing all the time? So GT Live has kind of any of their live theorizing sessions I dig deep into. I know far too much about FNAF that I don't want to know, but I do. And I follow the
It's
lore and how
unfortunate.
deep it is. And it's funny how a lot of my stuff, without me even intentionally doing it, ends up very similarly. But I just look at other games. I look at theorizing it, and I theorize it myself as I'm creating it. So just other references, other video games, other types of theorizing, because that whole channel does not think like I do. I sit there and I'm like, wow, there really is sugar in food. And like the obvious, duh. But I don't do that all the time. So, but yeah. And then another thing is just what gets your player's mind going, which is a part of theorizing. And for this, I have to know my players really well, which just plays on my psychology kind of obsession, as I own 2 different copies, used to own 3 different copies of the DSM-4, as I am waiting to hunt down the DSM-5 because I have problems. But that's here nor there. So this is kind of my reference layout of how I steal it from my references and how I immediately translate it into DMing.
Oh,
It's
and
just
by the
what
way,
I
Tori also asks people like what kind of things they're comfortable with, and
Yeah,
what
Tori
kind of
sends out a
stories they'd
whole
like to
sheet
see.
beforehand,
Yeah.
which is
Oh,
actually
She
very
prepares herself
nice.
by preparing us,
Yes.
and vice versa, if that makes sense. Like she's that's something that not all DMs do, and you should
For real,
probably
I've
do.
never once had a DM do that. And I think when I read the sheet that Tori sent out the first time, I actually went back and mentioned it to her and thanked her because I didn't think about half the things that were on this sheet that like could come up. And it's nice because some of them were like trigger warning stuff. So, like, if
Yeah,
you weren't comfortable with things or like wanted to avoid these topics. But the sheet also went over like what we enjoyed best as players, like what gets us going.
yeah. I mean, it's
yeah,
just like, especially with like a new group and new people that you're playing with, it's best to have those to figure out the comfortability of the person. Because, especially if you know as yourself, you're going to have a serious topic of a
Yeah.
campaign, which we'll get into that a little bit more because it's one of my core elements. Like, I knew going in, I touch on some very dark topics, and all for the light of education and bringing light to them, of course, and just sharing the knowledge. But it's also just naturally I love horror games. I mean, Silent Hill's sitting right in front of us. So, and that game is filled with stuff. Y'all could watch the AVD on that one. But
hmm
anyhow, specifically Silent Hill 2. But it's like I knew that I was like I need to know what these people are comfortable with so that way then I can tailor my story to make sure it's comfortable for them because they need to have as much fun as I do because I have fun writing the story. I have fun creating the puzzles. Do I like making maps? No. I hate it. I cannot stand making maps, but I do it. And when I get to do it, I quadruple double check myself and get in the weeds so much that I just take a shower and end up like friggin' Suguru from Jujutsu Kaisen season 2 just hearing the clapping of people and then I'm like, okay, time to go. And then I
I also
walk
want to
away.
like throw you some more good like what's the reverse of shade? Like props. I just want to
Flowers.
throw you some more props and say like along with the whole like asking us what we're comfortable with and what kind of game experience we have, that helps her decide what kind of like story it's gonna give us because if she doesn't ask those questions and we all like maybe we all just want to role play and we end up in a highly combative story instead of not getting the kind of game that we'd want. And she doesn't really have to worry about that purely because she gets those answers from us.
Yeah. As I was always raised, if you have questions, ask. So just ask. It's as simple as that. If you want to know if your players want heavy battling, ask them. Usually before the campaign starts. And then, I mean, in the middle, we'll get into this more in like free form and like discussion. But overall, definitely like halfway through campaigns, I usually try to do a check in. With the streamed ones, we're talking constantly, anyways, and on the behind the scenes as well, and all that stuff. But so I usually don't have to do a check in, and our group is really good at telling me, like, yo, girl, no, this ain't it. And I'm like, okay, cool. I haven't had that happen yet, but overall, um, usually I try to do a check in, especially in the ones off stream because I don't talk to them as often. It's definitely check in with your players halfway through the campaign. Be like, is this good? Do you guys want more combat? Is there anything I can do to correct? Always ask for criticism and critiques because that's just the way art goes, baby. You're going to get good and you're going to get bad. And it's always good to keep yourself in check and what I like to say, humble. So,
Check
because,
yourself before you wreck yourself.
yeah, because let me just be completely honest. I am very confident in my skills as DMing. I've now had several campaigns, which we'll get into, all within the same world, and yet no complaints. So I'm going to take no complaints as I'm doing a damn good job. So, how did I apply all that knowledge and then end up making the Land of Egg? And what now has gone over a span of 4 campaigns, 2 of which have been streamed. Well, will be streamed. So let's start at the very basics. Let's get a quick reminder of just where we are starting. I knew my first DMing adventure was also the first time that I was playing D&D. So I was taking on a lot. I knew I was taking on a lot of things, but thankfully I had a good background. Because not only am I highly imaginative and have a bajillion stories I want to tell, my dad also wanted to be a childhood, like a children's author once. So I would always think back to how he was telling his stories to me. Like there's one paper that he tells me about constantly, though he's been out of school for like ever. He still brings up this one paper and it stuck with me where they had to write about something they were passionate about, and everyone started the paper with blah 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 blah. I am passionate about blank. I am blankety blankety blank. He instead made the reader guess what he was talking about. He only described it and never said it until the end. And it's just creatively thinking. Instead of doing your first thought, you do the third one. Because usually everyone else has thought of the first two. Go to the third one. And then that makes you stand out, and then you get creative story writing, yada, yada, yada. But after all of that, I know that I wanted certain core elements in my campaign. The very basics. You have your start, middle, and your end. Let's go even more basic. What do you want to share in the story, and what do you really want going on? So for me, I love psychological horror. That was going to be my campaign one way or another. There was going to be puzzles. I wanted reincarnation. And I love a good rant about history of religion and its relation to corruption of the sciences and societies. If you want to know more about that, go watch, I think, our first Dr. Decker stream when he brings up Zeitgeist, because I go on a probably 45-minute tangent about that movie.
Oh my
Quote unquote
god, that
movie.
fucking movie.
Quote unquote movie. And then
Yeah, documentary thingy.
documentary call out post from 2006 or earlier. But also I knew that I wanted to have a campaign that would be very funny and silly on the surface, but immediately pull the rug out from under you in a level of seriousness. And that is where we'll get into that a little bit more, I think, actually on this next slide. But I know, right? But after figuring out those
Sorry,
core
still
elements, I thought you were gasping in like excitement to
no.
know.
I'm
Like, you
sorry.
know, like I thought you were just so excited. I was like, I thought you would be so thrilled to know that after I found out my core elements, I had to
The
figure out what world I was going to
suspense.
be in. I had to set the stage. So let's set the stage. Fun story. When I created the Land of Egg, it was an accident. I was trying to draw a perfect circle, but I was at work and on the phones because I was just thinking of this campaign like constantly, and I could not draw a perfect circle. So it just kept coming out egg shaped, and I was like, okay, I guess it's egg shaped. And now it's going to be about breakfast foods. And so that's where the world began, and it fulfilled one of my core elements that I knew I was kind of struggling with, because I was like, how am I going to make it funny on the surface? What's an easy way to make the funny continue throughout the story without it just being consistently goofs? Because I knew I wanted a serious campaign. This was back at the Cursed Egg. So I then went into MS Paint and made this map, which is still the only map to this day of Egg. I never bothered remaking another one. I was like, screw it. Because then I went on MS Paint to make a perfect circle. Guess what? I didn't. I couldn't do it. It only had an oval shape. I kept twitching when I went to go click, so it kept becoming an oval. So I just erased it and pointed it a bit more and made it a lopsided egg.
Can't you
And
press
that's how it
shift and
began.
make it perfectly circle?
Probably. I didn't know that. I still don't know to this day. I don't use MS Paint. I also don't know how to do a perfect circle in Clip Studio either. They only have an oval tool.
Fair enough.
Oh.
So I will never know how to make a perfect circle in any art form, it seems. Except with like that weird, not a rhombus. What's that thing? The little pointy stick and then the spinny. What is that called?
What?
What?
There's that dumb like tool that you use, a compass. I think it's a compass, where it's like the
Oh,
pointed
okay.
little
Yeah.
needle in the center and then the pencils on
The
the
needle with the
outside.
pencil.
Yeah,
Oh
Yeah,
it's a
and
yeah.
it's got
compass,
a little
right?
bit of a ruler on it for
I
Yeah,
always called it the
measuring
shape
degrees.
tool.
no,
Yeah,
it's a
it's
compass.
yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's a compass, right?
I think
Um,
Have I
so.
gone? Am I that old?
no, it's still used, but
Compass map
less.
tool. Yeah, I'm right. It's a compass. I just Googled it. Okay. Anyways,
I was
back
I
to
was literally
this.
doing it, but I was being real slow.
You're good. I got you. I'm Speedy Mix Typekins with my new Silent Hill 2 opera theme. It's so good. It's so good. It makes a little bloop bloops. But anyhow, so
I
that
need to
was the
copy
egg,
this picture down and then ask you which ones are which cities.
truly. Well, I have the key. Don't worry. So I still have the original key because I had to look it up for the next slides. So I have my world. I know Benedict is the red star, Florentine is the green star, Cuckoo is the pink star, gray is Greasor, the Berry Valley is this maroon color, the city that no one ever goes to, and then the star symbol was Waflor.
Waffle.
Wait,
This city I
did I
forget.
miss? Did I miss you saying where Fleur was? Damn it!
Well, that's Waflor. You just said it wrong the whole
Oh,
first
Waffler.
session, and I just never bothered to correct you.
That
I just
sounds
I'm
thought it
pretty
was really
right.
sure the
funny.
message you put you. Oh wait, no, I probably misunderstood
Yeah,
you
you
because I thought you
misspelled it.
told me it was. Yeah, I thought it was Lafleur.
LaFleur.
This Lafleur this whole time. That's what I thought it was.
Nope.
Lafleur.
It's
Oof.
Waflor, like waffles, except with an OR at the end.
Oh well, I'll correct it. Oh,
I just
no,
didn't
Lyric
bother
doesn't
you.
need to
That
be
was
that
really
stupid.
funny. I thought
Lyric
it
doesn't
was.
need to be that stupid where he walks in and he's just like, up from the floor. And someone goes, on floor. What he said. And then that just happens the whole time. I can't make him that stupid.
Oh, nah.
I
He
mean,
didn't
you
roll that low on the
could.
stat. He didn't roll that low
He's
on
going to be
his.
dumb, but not that dumb.
Right. Lord have mercy. So, speaking of the Land of Egg, I feel like we need to talk about the timeline. Because as I previously stated, there has been 4 campaigns with this same exact MS Paint map involved in the town and all of the lore that goes behind it. So, starting out was the Cursed Egg, the original, the OG baby from 2018. Then it went into Project Egg, which started a month before our campaign, the Blessed Hamlet. So they were actually running simultaneously, and Project Egg then ended prematurely. Um, just because
That's
of
where Wade
life.
was.
Yep. Nope. Project Egg was not where Wade was. Wade was
Oh,
from
what?
nowhere of Egg. I've just yanked him
What?
into this world. Yep.
Oh, I'm so happy about this. I'm still happy about this.
I yanked him. I was like, he's my property. He's my character. I'm gonna do what the hell I want with him. So I did. And so then the Blessed Hamlet, and then from the Blessed Hamlet will now be Breaking of the Cursed Egg, which I think as of right now, I will say tentatively will be the last installment of the Land of Egg. So this campaign will be the finale of Egg. And then I get to go into new
Really?
worlds and create new things. Oh, yes. So, as we saw, they were kind of played, and as we know, they were played in very different order. They are not in chronological order. So let's get them in chronological order, shall we? Well, you guys did it first. The Blessed Hamlet, congratulations. You played as, the antagonist of the Cursed Egg, but a baby. He was a little child, and you guys did get to have some moments of seeing the campaign of the Cursed Egg, which is all streamed. If you guys want me to go into detail of the Blessed Hamlet, go watch it. It's on our YouTube channel and our Twitch channel and our VODs. Then
Ew.
there's Project Egg, and then there's currently Breaking the Cursed Egg, which the year is 4130. And then here's when all the campaigns actually started, just to reiterate on how close they were. Somehow I did it on 4-4 and 5-5. Don't know how I managed to do that one. I look because I still have all of my Google Docs of these. See? Being organized is good, ladies and gentlemen. I can pull out all this knowledge. But let's break them all down. Blessed Hamlet, obviously the first in the timeline. You got to see baby Hamlet as a cute little baby and goo goo gaga and grown up into a little tyrant that he is, which is in the Cursed Egg. Cursed Egg was, in theory, the first campaign. It was the very first one I did. And from there, it started off. I really got to play in the reincarnation of this because all the players had 2 different characters they had to play. So at the end of each night when they went to sleep, they would have to roll a d20. And if they rolled a Odd and below 10, they switched to another character sheet that I created for them. And it was their past life. And it kind of played all into the religion within the land of egg, reincarnation, and how certain people are just always kind of, projected to help and protect this one person from not going senile. And COVID actually, good old ViddyCon destroyed that campaign as they were just about to get to the final kind of battle. Like they were working up to it. They were getting to the mountain right outside of Florentine where Janaya was, and they were like fighting in a dragon's lair. It was pouring down rain, and then pretty much the next session we were going to have, the whole world was on lockdown. And so they never got to finish it. And so when I started up Project Egg, it was pretty much far in the future, but the same kind of thing was happening, which means those in the cursed egg did not complete what they needed to do. And they did not solve the issue and did not fix what was going on to stop it from just repeating itself over and over again in this whole prophecy. And so in Project Egg, the main character that they were kind of following was an author of another character of mine named Scribbles, this Kinku that was a barbarian calligrapher. He became an author and pretty much was all entangled with it again, except then it got a lot more government conspiracy theory-esque. And then that campaign ended, which brings us to Breaking the Cursed Egg, which as of now will be the final installment, at least planning to. We'll see. Who knows what's going to happen with the campaign? Because Lord knows anything could happen. So we may be back here again. I'm currently running a different campaign to where this campaign may overlap. I won't ever say, though, just in case so and so is watching. But
Yeah.
now
I
that
just
we.
realized like all of the
So,
campaigns have ironically turned into like from soft games with the whole like, yes, we got to the end. Did it end well? No,
No.
no,
And
it
it didn't.
never ends well.
It has not ended well yet. No one has solved my biggest puzzle of all is how do you stop the prophecy? But yet to be determined.
so there was a point in time where Haribo tried to write his name and he only scribbled, and so everybody called him Scribbles. Did
Yeah.
you
Oh
like
yeah,
have a little chuckle at that, because that was something I think that one guy just kind of named Haribo as his pseudonym for
I
that
was
time.
cackling. I was cackling on the inside the whole time. Anytime it was said, because I just sat there and I was like, God, if you only knew, if you only knew. Because again, Project Egg was still probably going at that point. It went on for a good minute. And because both campaigns ended up doing almost simultaneously my birthday extravaganza, which was essentially a whole remake of Silent Hill 2 into my campaign. And
for
it
a
was
long
just
time.
yep. And
We had a very long Tori birthday.
we did.
That's true,
Boy,
yeah.
I can't wait for this year. No,
I'm
no,
excited.
no. I already got this. Like, there ain't no way we're getting through what I've already written by my birthday, so ain't gonna happen. But
Oh.
overall, we may play a little homage. But regardless, it was really funny because, like, at that point, Scribbles was already. He was the first character that I played back in 2020, I believe. If not, it was 2019. It was like right no, because it was when the pandemic was already happening, I think. So it was like 2019 or 2020 is when Scribbles was made. Because it was the first character I made with the DM now is my significant other, so this is so bizarre. But it was his first campaign that I played in. That was Scribbles, and I random rolled him. I love me a good random roll, and so I random rolled race, class, background, all of it, and he came out being a Kinku barbarian that had the artisan like background, and then when I random rolled it, I was a calligrapher. So he was actually the whole background, but behind Scribbles was he was a in the world that he was from, because I just had free reign. significant other did not give a single crap on what I did. He's like, make whatever. And I was like, so I made it to where I don't know why, but I was very, very inspired by carrier pigeons and Violet Evergarden. And I was like, you know what? I want it to be a world where people don't write for themselves,
Carrier
like Violet
pigeons.
Evergarden,
Okay.
but then I want the birds to be all the delivery people. Because I just thought it was really funny and it was harkening back. I think there was also a running joke that the delivery ostrich was in the cursed egg. So like mail was just delivered by ostriches for some reason. That's a lost bit that just like never showed up in any of the other campaigns. Thank God.
It went extinct.
Thank God. And so I wanted to just play into that on top of like Violet Evergarden. And so he was a little mail carrier, and he was on his first day. He was finally getting out of the office from just writing letters. He was getting out to go deliver the letters, and he legit just got kidnapped by these drug lords. And that's how we got into the group. He was like, "Wow, this is
that shit sounds. I
he
haven't
was like,
watched it yet.
dude," and he was just like, "Wow, this is a normal day in the life of a mail carrier," and he didn't know any better because he was so like sheltered and grew up in his little mail place. It was precious. And Scribbles to this day is that group's favorite character. He keeps showing up in so many other campaigns. It's disturbing, which is why in Project Egg I just made him the main character that they're gonna follow. Hence, then he pretty much had a son. His name was Cal. His name was Calligraphy, and he's just a little shit. But anyways, regardless, little teenager Kinku, not even teenager, he was like 9 and like gambling poker. But regardless, yeah. So that Scribbles, so like as soon as you guys said it, I was just like, oh no. He's here
He's
too.
back.
He already has like what's weird is like I always like canonized it as like with Scribbles being a part of the whole prophecy and everything, obviously. I found it really funny because Scribbles in that campaign was the Hamlet in
Oh.
ours. And so, like, deep lore, because it never finished, so I could say this, and it wasn't streamed. And so, it
Fair
was
enough,
really
fair enough.
funny because then I'm looking at the timeline and I'm like, oh my goodness, Haribo was just, like, Haribo in
It
then
was.
turn was also kind of like Hamlet, which in turn means Haribo was Scribbles' past life.
My
Which
boy.
if I was to implement that, like in the Blessed Hamlet, if I was to do the alternate character sheets and all of that, you would have gotten to play as Scribbles, which is so funny to me.
Oh
Like
my
seeing someone
god.
else play my character would have been wild. But that was like I had it in the works, and I had like a lot of character stuff done, but your guys' past lives is I think I flipped it because what you guys were gonna do was play the characters from the cursed egg is what you guys were going to do because that was the other timeline you guys kept flipping between. And so and same with like the Blessed
Oh,
Hamlet.
that's what that was.
Yeah, so there was a lot of things that like I started to implemented it, but then like I couldn't figure out the details, especially in Roll20, and I was still really kind of getting used to DMing in Roll20.
Respect.
So I just couldn't fully work out the kinks, but I had all the character sheets lined up, ready to go. Because I still had all the paper ones from the Cursed Egg, because that was an in-person campaign, and
Oh, so wait,
so
we were never going to see Kefi like in our time
no,
ever.
no, never. And it's wild to think about that. And then because their past lives were before your guys' campaign. So you guys are like meshed in the middle of the Blessed Hamlet and
Oh.
then what was going to be even a prequel to that. And what have you. But no, there was a lot of stuff that I was like kicking around and I was like, no, this doesn't make sense. I'll do it as the past characters because the past characters you guys had run into. So um Andrew's character, he was the rogue that you guys met that had the essentially the roofie peach dust.
The
Um
one that we almost killed.
yeah, that was Andrew's character. And
Oh, sorry.
yeah, I forget his name right now. I know it's after a cheese and it drives me nuts every time. It's not
Wait,
Gruyere, but it's
It's
something
goat
similar.
cheese.
when you get done explaining this one, you better explain
Chevre.
Bucky.
Oh, Bucky was a previous one of my characters from Andrew's campaign. Literally 2 sessions. That was it. I just wanted to play a Minotaur, which is why his photo. But then, goofingly, I was like, no, I just want him to have a photo of a cow, and so he did. 2 sessions was Bucky. That's it. That's all Bucky was. He was, again, I rip my own characters from other campaigns that I play and I just throw them in this amalgamation of Egg. So Egg is connected not only now to Star Wars, but also wherever the hell Wade was from. Whatever that world was.
But I
It's
have to know,
there.
like,
It
what did
was
he
in
do?
he was in Xandra's campaign. The egg, cursed egg, the or land of egg is also in Xandra's multiple campaigns. It may have got yanked into Taylor's campaign. Like
Nice.
egg is like its own weird sphere of just growing, and everyone like references it, which is why I'm like, this is going to be so weird if I actually end it, because then it's done, and I can't really reference it anywhere else. But I definitely will because I have problems. But we've been talking a lot about lore. So let's go into the basics. Very basics. Will we get deeper? Of course. It's me. How could we not? So, basics, develop the world and the mechanics of the world. Plan out each city in detail. Make them have a purpose. I cannot tell you how much, just like a sketch, if you plan out your world more in what each city kind of does or stands for, you are going to have such a more immersive world. Have some set NPCs. These are people that you know you want your characters to run into, that your characters can build with and grow with. Not just that, it gives the player a sense of knowing what it's like to live in this world. And really just like, again, just deepening it and making it more realistic and more immersive. And then the biggest one that we already talked about, use what your characters give you. What your players give you in your backstory will give you so many new ideas. I cannot tell you how many times I've gotten a backstory and I'm like, oh, this character's backstory is really, really rooted in religion. I need to build out my religion and I want to work with them with however much I'm
Miles.
comfortable to scare. Like, Miles was a huge one. He definitely, like, and I feel to this day, I'm like, that's why I'm so focused on this next campaign to do so much. Because Miles, I was like, Miles did not get enough airtime of what he needed to do, but it was just really hard to pace it with what was going on at the time in the campaign. So it was always really hard to fit in that moment for Miles to shine. So definitely want to work on that. But in general, like, use what your players give you. They will give you new ideas. It's multiple people giving you multiple different things and interpreting what information you gave them in the world. And then it'll make you think differently, and it helps everybody. I think it's a symbiotic relationship is what that one is.
I think
So
so.
I think so. My
Yep.
science class, not going too hot. I took zoology. I should know this. But um, zoology is the evolution of species, not the relationships they have.
Evolution.
But regardless, that's the basic. Though if you can get these 3 down, you'll be good. And all the extra stuff I'm going to give you, you'll find out for your own. But let me tell you what works for me. Once I have the story, once I know what references I'm pulling from, once I have my core elements, once I got the basics of lore figured out, then it's time to really start carving out how deep you want to go. And methods I have found out that worked for me, there's a lot, is pacing of the story and changing the pace. So I have a pace, but I don't like the stereotypical start, middle, end. I like my storylines to look like a freaking ocean. I want there to be waves. I want it to be fluid, a sense of pulling and pushing through the story of the characters fighting, but then realizing they have to back off and change. And it's just like the ocean is, it's waves. And that's just dynamic. Making pivotal moments for each character and arc in the story for the players and the characters to experience. You have to have character growth and change. And to do that, you have to have a dynamic story. If you have a very cookie cutter, they're going to be very flat. You want round characters, you want a round story. Listen to your players' theories is another one, because there has been several times that people will make predictions in the middle of the campaign and I write it down, don't think I don't, and then later down the line when that comes up in a completely different place, it gets you as a player thinking and it helps you as a DM think. That's what I love. I love hearing what people theorize and then I'm be like, Ho ho ho! You gave me more pigeon seed. Thank you. AKA, there's less work I gotta do. I don't gotta do much else. If the characters and the players want to believe something is happening, make it frickin' happen. It's the lore. They're there for fun. Let them feel like they're winning. Simple as that. Use improv to your advantage because 9 times out of 10, that's your gut. That's your gut reaction, whatever you want to do. But again, if you're going to use improv, you better note it to keep the continuity together because you cannot say Billy Bob is an orc and then the next campaign, in the next session, he's shown up as an elf. That's going to be very confusing. And then you also have to figure out how he changed his whole race over a night. Like, you're going to have to figure that out world-wise. At least I would. So, keep it simple. Use improv because it makes things more dynamic. It plays right up into the first one. And then do something new. Depending on how you're playing, if you're playing online or in person, there's several ways you can do this. I have realized online is kind of where I shine the most. Is it more annoying? Yes, because I hate making maps and you need more visuals to play online. It's just better that way, in my opinion. Do I hate it? Yes. But in person DMing, there wasn't as much as I could do. Yes, I could physically build a whole Ouija board that's written in Draconic and, have them do that for Halloween, because I did. And so it's more hands-on craft, but there's so much more you can do with technology. So, for example, in the previous one, we had sidebar conversations. There was conversations and sessions being had off stream or happening during the stream that really just helped it stay dynamic for the players as well because you got to hear the characters gasping for legitimately no reason, and that's because they're having a conversation in their head, and it's really funny because then that gets up roleplay. And they're like, "Why are you gasping, Ziminiar?" And he's like, "I just found out the world's ending." And like he can't say anything because he's not allowed to
Yep.
say anything, and he just has to sit
Oh
there
my
and
god.
fumble around.
Speaking of which, we brought this up last time we played Homebody, where I told ATP I knew that we were going down the bad route because I learned that a very specific question that was asked at one point was, should we bring Gilly back? I almost said Millie for some reason. And
Ah, yes, Millie.
Zaminiar knew prior that that's not allowed. Like that that she's unnecessary was the
Yep.
words, and like, and as soon as everyone was like, "That's what I want," Zaminiar at the during the end of that episode stayed quiet. He stayed quiet, and he was upset because he had no one he could tell. He
No.
didn't know what he had Hamlet, the fucking god of that world, essentially, in his head, Sakunaing up and being like, "Oh, if you say the wrong thing, I won't tell you what's right or wrong, but if you say the wrong thing,"
Yeah.
and and it's like he's in his head screaming. And sometimes it got to come out in different ways for every character. Like we, one of my favorite things is we had that message box in Deep Roll 20, and sometimes the characters would just say things in the background that aren't being said in the story, but it's hilarious to read when it does happen.
Yeah. There was a lot with that campaign that was so good, and I'm so glad you said Sakuna because I straight ripped some of Hamlet's shit right from him. I was like, "All right, you
Yeah,
devious little bully, come here."
for any of the people that go back and actually watch their streams, some of the artwork for Miniar is actually pulled from Jujutsu
Chainsaw Man.
Kaisen. Oh, no, Chainsaw Man. Damn it! I
Chainsaw
get it
Man.
wrong every time I talk about it. Every
Yeah.
single time.
It was straight ripped from Chainsaw Man. But yeah, nope. That was when I was starting to pick up and learn a bunch of stuff about animation, and I was like, "Ooh, this is a cool thing. I'm gonna use this," and I did. But no. So there's so much you can do online to really just really make things a lot more enjoyable all around for me. If you don't think you can handle streaming and or just even like DMing and having another conversation on the side, don't do it. You don't have to. You don't have to be like me to be a great DM. I just am one. And this is what works for me. And from there, Also, splitting the party. It's a little hard for us to do this on stream. You just have to really trust your characters and players to really not metagame, which will be happening in this next campaign. I figured it out.
Oh.
And, in short, splitting the party up. Splitting the party up, and I hate to sound so devious because I'm like Simon the Devious from What We Do in the Shadows, but I don't want to say use
Ooh.
your players against each other, but use your players against each other. Let them have knowledge that they cannot tell other people. Zeminiar is the greatest example. Zeminiar
Yeah.
knew so much, and watching poor little Zero squirm and not be able to do anything brought me such joy as a DM.
I,
Such joy.
I also in that last Homebody episode, we also discussed how far back ATP knew
Oh
about
yeah.
Janaya,
Yep.
and how, because I wanted to know if she understood just the level of fuck this that Zeminiar was at when he was just like, you guys are trying to do this, but I know who that is, and I'm gonna let her know that we're not about it, about this fight, and I'm just gonna let her fucking eat me. And she,
Uh.
and like, he took a breath attack just to make her stop attacking, while the others were like, no, it's an enemy dragon. He's like, no, shut up, shut
Yeah,
Yep.
up,
really. I tried
please.
so hard because like Janaya became, and I don't even know if this was the outcome or what you'd call it, but
Yeah.
essentially my familiar, similar to oh, excuse me, how Hamlet was
Art.
to Zeminiar, and I got so mad. It was just like Hairbo's got a cool thing. Leave it alone.
Yep. And what's so crazy is how different Janaya ended up being. Like, she was very similar in both campaigns, but like she got to be more of like Hamlet in this one, except she was like the good. She was the good and really wasn't like riddled by insanity in this world because this wasn't her world. She had no idea what the heck was going on. But yeah, no. That was kind of everything. And yes, I did throw in some new art in here. Ooh, some
Ooh.
unseen
Yeah.
stuff and some like little hints to our new screensavers for the D&D campaign starting on February 20th, if I'm correct. We get session 1 on February 20th.
Who's
See.
this
So,
character?
yeah. You get to meet him soon at some point.
God damn
Wait,
it.
is that Spears? No, Spears is the dude with the dread like hair, right?
No. Dreads
Damn.
is that one guy's character. The bird?
No,
Sanji?
the with the black and the yellow hair.
Oh,
I might
no.
have
No. That's
I might
not
have been
Sanji.
mistaken his. Okay,
Nope. That's some new people you guys haven't met yet. And memory lane.
I thought they were our roommates,
They
cellmates.
they are. Some of them are. Some of them aren't.
I
But
love seeing the evolution of your character design. By the way, like seeing
yeah.
back when you started doing artwork for the Blessed
Mm-hmm.
Hamlet, you weren't really doing faces at all.
Nope.
And now
Yeah.
look, like you fucking made an owl that has feather locks.
I
And,
know. God. Oh, the
and,
screaming that ensued over that drawing.
and you made you
Yeah.
and you made ATP's character. I sorry, I cannot remember the name. You made
Stocky, my
Takeen.
ATP's
guy.
character. Takin, the easiest name to remember. You made
Totally.
Takin look like that one Street Fighter character a little bit. I love it.
So it's so funny. We'll just get into this real quick. So I originally didn't do faces and still to this day hate doing faces.
I love
hate
that
them.
art drawing right there. I love this so much.
I do really like
I'm
that
sorry.
one.
I saw.
Yeah.
It just looks like an actual, like you'd see that on a poster for a show you watch. Like that's what that looks like to me. Like some
Yeah.
genuine TV show artwork.
Thank you. I like a lot of it was very much I don't like doing faces because I don't want the expression to influence how the people feels about the
That
artwork.
guy.
I wanted to leave them.
Wait.
Oh, yes. He yeah, you
Oh,
haven't met
him.
him yet. You haven't met him yet.
I've
You
met
haven't met
him.
either of them yet.
I've met Wade.
Yep, Wade definitely. But no, you have not met a few of the others, and I'm leaving them nameless. But
Oh,
for now, you get to know on February 20th. But
he's adorable.
thank you. Thank you. I was very proud. But no, so I left them faceless because I wanted the whoever was viewing it to put their own face to the character for one, and two, I didn't want the expression to be read through the face. I wanted it to be however the person felt through the use of color, through the use of the background, if there was a background, just the overall posture. Like I wanted the expression to be shown anywhere else besides the face because that also
Fair.
harkens back to my campaign. All of it is very much, what do you view it as? What do you feel the religion is like? What do you view is the correct option to do? You're not being told what the option is. You're left to your own devices and the hints left throughout that you have gathered to figure out what you need to do. And so, yeah. And then I really wanted to try to practice phrases. And there we go. And speaking of ATP's character, straight used so many references. I used the one photo from Attack on Titan, but a lot of the rest of it is Nanami from Jujutsu Kaisen. Straight yanked him. I was like, "Come here, Nanami, old man, let's go."
Daddy.
And then the hair was from a photo reference that we had found together, and then kind of morphed it ourselves, and then pretty much from there ends up still looking like I don't think his name's Ken, but the guy from Tekken. I don't think it's Ken. It's not Ken. It's Paul. Paul from Tekken. Is anytime I see that side profile, I'm like, yo, it's just Paul from Tekken, but different ethnicity, but they look very similar.
And he's shit. God damn, yeah.
Yeah. They look. I didn't realize it until much later, and I was like, "Well, I can't do anything now." So,
it's so cylindrical because not cylindrical. That's the wrong word. It comes full circle. Earlier I said it looked. You made it look like that guy from Street Fighter. That's who inspired Paul.
Yeah, there you go. So yeah, no open floor discussion and questions time. Let's dig in. That's my DM class. That's what I got going. That's how I do it. That's how I make things. Simple and sweet. If y'all want the PowerPoint, I'm sure. Good game. I just referenced that game today because my coworker was trying to make me believe that I had Bieber fever, and I don't. And I kept saying this horrible, goofy image, and I was like, I do not have Bieber. Can't wait to tell you that I don't have Bieber fever, but instead, I'm just missing Kingdom Hearts. And I set the thumbs up, just screaming for Kingdom Hearts, and I was like, full circle. How do we keep bringing this up today? How does Kingdom Hearts keep showing up in my mess today? So yeah. But no. Crazy times. Crazy how the Land of Egg has developed, and now this will be the last campaign of it. And I hope the lore does good. It will all tie in. And yeah. What questions y'all got? What you got for me, fam?
So, I think one of the things that Zero and I talk about the most often, is how goofy and memorable your NPCs are.
Yes.
Tell me how you go about creating your NPCs and what makes you give them the personalities that you do outside of pure just random will.
Well, boy, are you going to be so excited for me to tell you in 9 times out of 10 they're random. But no, there's even in the current campaign that's going to be happening, I pulled some good references. I pulled some really dumb goofs like Windy. I straight had Wendy's that night. And I was like, cool. There she is. Done. Because I needed a food merchant. And I was like, what? I always just try to think of, for me, I think of my players and I'm like, what references will they get? Because I could pull some crazy buffoonery references, but y'all will not have the slightest clue. unless you've watched the show or like you've read the book or randomly went down my rabbit hole of knowledge when I was like, yo, Lord Xenu. like y'all won't get a lot of my off the crazy chain references. So I always have to think back of what is common enough, not just for you guys, but also the viewers. You other guys. Hello. I always have to think what references will they get. And I was like, well, everyone knows the restaurant Wendy's. I just ate it. That's a good food. There we go. Got a name. Done. And done. We're good. And then from there, just kind of going with that. So all of those merchants, I knew I needed a slew of merchants. And I was like, well, we all like video games. We're a video game channel. I might as well just pull out some video game merchants. Hence why you murdered the Minecraft merchant. But
Haribo had a
time,
reason.
one time Haribo went like murder hungry.
He wanted to
and then
help the llamas. There was no stopping it.
so that's definitely how most of them come about is I just look at references that everyone should be able to grasp, and if I can get the world of egg in some other game's lore, I'm going to do it. And so now egg is now a part of Minecraft. And like if I can make the connection, I'm going to make it. And so that's how I do it. And then the ones that aren't just full reference, so Hagatha. I
Oh my god,
I
yeah.
needed
How
an
did you come up
old
with Agatha and Agatha?
Hagatha and Agatha was because I wanted a name that was simple. I remember this so specifically. I wanted names that were simple but really dumb and played on what they were kind of inspired by.
Oof.
So for me, Hagatha and Agatha, one, they rhymed. So I just like had to have them together as twins. But I then got into this weird rabbit hole of learning about hag ravens and like and how they're usually not alone. I think it's what I saw in one article. I was like, well shit, now I gotta give her a sister. And I gotta think of a name because Hagatha was just based off of a hag raven. And so I was like, okay, Hagatha instead of Agatha Christie. And then I was like, Agatha, what a great name. Like, that was it. And so then they were just this weird group of old lady sisters, and I needed a weird old witchy lady that looked very similar to the lady from Snow White. I was like, all right, we're good. Done. And then their weird love triangle story, I don't know where that came from. I just needed the most dramatic, like Steve Wilkos, like Jerry Springer BS, but I'd never seen it. And I was like, okay, what sounds like it would be on this ridiculous, like, show? Cool. I guess this works. And so I went with it. And that's how I do them. I look at my players, I figure out who they are as people, what their interests are, because usually you're playing with friends, or you ask on the questionnaire, what do you like? Like, if you don't know them. And then from there, I just straight rip references, because it also plays into what I've wanted throughout the world of Egg. I want it to be funny, but y'all know it's serious. Y'all know there's some serious BS happening here. The world's ending and it's on your shoulders, and you're like, let's just go see Miss Windy again. Let's go talk to Agatha. And the old other lady that talks about hentitis. Let's go talk to her.
I always forget that she existed.
She was the very first merchant you guys ran into.
Exactly.
Very first. I think. Someone go quote me on that. But yeah, she was the first one that had everyone like peeing, so.
All because of all the people who would interact with the hentitis merchant. It had to be planned.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so
I
that's
think,
how the
I
NPCs
think my
came
favorite
about.
had to be the one that we made fall in love with, Miles.
True. True.
That
And a
Did
lot
he
of
ever
times,
come back from the other galaxy that or whatever subspace that he got thrown in?
probably, I would imagine so after the world exploded. But you know, and after it kind of like fell apart. But no, he a lot of the times also like for the voices and like kind of what happens with them, I'll be real. I plan for a voice and it never comes out correctly. Never. Like I could stand in front of the mirror in the shower, do it over and over again. As soon as I get on stream, I'm like freaking the actor that plays Ross from Friends. I'm like, hi, "Hi, folks," and I just lose it. And I'm like, "Well, that's their voice now. It's out in the public. I can't change it unless I forget about it. Then it gets changed." But
The amount of
yeah,
times Zero and I have forgotten what characters sound like is a stupid amount.
yep, it just happens.
Mm-hmm.
Like as much as I want to be a voice actor, it just hasn't happened yet. It hasn't happened. But no, I can't remember shit. So, you know. But yeah, that's that. Next.
Ooh.
Uh, I had one, then I fucking lost it.
What is the most complicated? Um, I guess not complicated, but the most in-depth lore you have created for the Land of Egg that you can tell us about.
Yeah, so I would say just overall the deepest lore and just the most complicated one also is just the religion in general. I literally confused myself at one point when I was making it because I was like trying to figure out, okay, well, how would the people actually solve this? And I had to solve it myself, and that took a very long time. Though I wrote it, I still had to sit there and be like, wait, would this double cross it? And like, I run into the same issue with anytime I do murder mysteries. I have to run it myself. And so like the one that you guys did on the boat, I ran through that thing so many different times because again, I love psychology and have problems, and I genuinely have a lot of issues with having people come up with other solutions that are valid, aka like the first one you guys did. So after that
That
happened,
was
I was like,
dumb.
well, I was like, I don't want that to happen
Yeah.
again. So I made sure to plan that it wouldn't happen again. And so I ran through and I was like, okay, there's no other possible solution. Or I had to work backwards. I reworked that whole ship, like murder mystery, so many times because I was like, okay, let me do it straightforward. They have to follow where the axe went to find out where it was. Is there other ways that they could find out this information? And then it had to rely on me to be so heavily scripted and not improv because if I gave you guys information that I didn't write down, that's a whole other factor that you guys could run with and do something completely different. And so always trying to figure out the puzzle myself and making sure there is only one answer and X, Y, and Z. And so anytime there's a puzzle of that level of like a murder mystery or the religion, like I had to make sure that there was really no other possible way. There's possible ways for you to get there, but to actually solve it, there's only one thing you can do. And it was very difficult because I had to sit there and be like, okay, but what about if this happens? I have to like theorize on myself. And I'm like, okay, but if they do this, what would happen? And like, hence why when I work on my campaigns, I have to tell my significant other, like, do not talk to me. I'm going to go take a shower. And I talk in the shower. I talk it out verbally to myself because it's the only place I could think, or I'm pacing around my apartment. So I feel so sorry for any of my neighbors because they just hear me talking shenanigans about this campaign. And they're like, what the fuck talking about? And so yeah, I would say the religion itself and the whole prophecy, which is the whole, crux of the campaign, was the hardest thing. Everything else has come from players or has been much simpler than that. Hence why there's 4 campaigns now. No one solved it yet. So,
Oof.
it's very exciting. Very exciting.
I'm assuming
Good.
we'll get to play more or learn more about the religion in this campaign.
False.
The
Oh.
religion's
There
dead.
you go. 0
Or
remembered.
in the future.
Yep.
By the way, like speaking of which, I guess I should ask: should I change lute to guitar or something?
Loot.
I mean, you can. I mean, people still play lutes nowadays.
It's true.
Fair. But you know what? You know what? I was still part of a nomadic tribe that wasn't exactly chilling in the city anyway. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'll keep the loot.
Yeah, I was like, you don't have to. Like, and in short, again, everything is kind of modern day, but if we hadn't been so greedy and did what zeitgeist moving forward wanted us to do in
Oh my
2006
god.
and already have magnetic railways. Just throwing
And
that out
travel
there.
at better speed and have public transit.
uh Me just calling out the government casually. um
Nothing casual about that.
Truly not.
Nope.
But these ones are my favorite because they look really good on computer backgrounds. So like obviously I have the slideshow going like full screen, and this whole series with like Miles and Zaminiar ones looks so good as computer backgrounds. I'm like, oh, I'm a genius. But those are some of my favorite, though they look so much like a L'Oreal commercial. But
um, specifically the one of
Z-
Zaminiar.
yeah, he looks so much like a L'Oreal commercial, and I'm like, I don't know why yours came out so much as like a weird, seductive L'Oreal commercial, but it did. So, this whole
Sometimes it's just
series,
like that.
truly. But yeah, Zero, do you have any questions?
Um, a lot of the questions I had about this kind of stuff, I think, came out during our Q&A session
Yeah,
at the end of the campaign. I just like I don't know. I think most of the questions I have will end up just being answered by the stream, or should only be answered by specifically the game,
mm-hmm.
and because like I've already asked all about the Blessed Hamlet, and now like we're gonna get in some new shit. Everyone's this is probably the first campaign. Well, I guess last campaign we were actually kind of team oriented more than we had been, but
Yeah,
this is probably going to be our most team oriented group because you helped us somehow fucking make everyone kind of know uh, Sanchi.
yeah. That
I think
that
And
had nothing to do
Sanchi
with
made
that.
us know Sanchi.
I
I put him in my story as just randomly someone that he enjoyed in the Thieves Guild. That was it. Like that was our only thing from my character was that every now and again they'd work together and he thought he was okay.
mm-hmm. I
I didn't even
guess
know that everyone else had a connection to him. I'm not gonna lie.
Her.
it
I just randomly asked if I could do it.
Sanchi's a
I
her.
her.
Her. Oh,
Yep.
I was just mentioning Greg in general.
How
Dang,
dare.
I
Todd.
mean, fuck. Damn it. I'm sorry.
You've been
Damn it.
doing so good for so
Ah,
long.
Oh my
so
oh
good.
no.
So good. Ah, well. Um,
Uh
I guess you heard anything, everyone.
How
I
unfortunate for you.
I can
Yes, no,
say
um, yeah.
as as someone who was, shockingly there for all of the character creation sessions, cuz I had to be. No, cuz I asked to be there. Uh I don't know if I genuinely think the way that that one guy advertised Sanchi had nothing to do with the rest of you. The rest of you all just had similar backgrounds, and I was like, oh, that's very similar to that one guy's background. And you're all like, cool, I'll talk to him about being connected to her. So I must say that one guy had nothing to do with all of y'all just suddenly being a part of their background. Of her background because that was on all of y'all. And it was just an easy, like, again, I just needed you all to be a single unit in the, the prison setting. I didn't need you all to know each other before, and you're like, no, 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 no.
So you're saying we
No,
all
that one.
misinterpreted it?
Exactly. Not only did you all misinterpret it, how I like to believe it was, because
Oh, I
I could have sworn I was pretty specific on, yep, you guys just need to know each other in the jail, however much you would have shared with your jailmates. And I
oh,
made,
I didn't
like,
misinterpret that. I just
yeah,
wanted to have him in there.
further. And I think that's what's really funny is the whole party was like, "Oh no, Tori. We know how you are. We need to make it a very deep connection." And so you all went in on it. And I was not mad at the slightest. I was not mad. I couldn't be mad. And so I wasn't. And yeah, it was just really funny when it all was playing out. I was like, I remember watching this be like, this is hilarious. This is hilarious. But yeah, this is going to be a good one.
It's
This
kind of funny because during the introduction episode, which by the like, that's of course not canon. That was just the characters like feed the characters
yeah.
for a minute, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So oh shoot, I can't remember what I was gonna say. Oh, there was
Something
a
about our
genuine moment in there.
characters.
Uh, I don't know if you guys caught this at one point, but I had Lyric mention something about like they couldn't have kids because there's no vagina. I said that during our stream because at the time I did not know that Sanchi was a female owl. I had no idea. I had never even asked the question. So there was like a genuine moment where no one could see it because I wasn't gonna point it out at the time. But there was a moment where Lyric, like I just imagined he was in the corner, like with an X for a mouth, like cartoons do sometimes, like oh, Lord, I just thought you were squeaky.
Oh my lord.
Because I remembered only one word from the way he sold it, and so I thought, boy, and and yeah, oh,
It's wild.
Oh
It's
my
wild.
god.
That's very
uh,
similar to what happened in the other campaign I'm in. The one that I'm actually playing is I knew that one character was green. He plays as essentially Darth Maul, the same race,
Darth
but
Marth.
he's green. And apparently none of the rest of the party knew this. I was the only one that did. I was like, "Well, yeah, you look very similar to them. You're green." And everyone's like, "What? He's green?" Because this photo is really it's just Darth Maul. And I was like, "No, he's green." Because I had to draw him in one of the weekly Fuhi pieces. Because I was doing weekly Wades, and so I felt like doing weekly Fuhis at the time, or at least some art for Fuhi. And yeah, no, it totally just went off the rails, and I had to draw Karn is the character's name. And yep, everyone was just baffled that he was green. And mind you, we've been almost in this campaign for 6 months to close to maybe a year, at least 6 months, and no one knew he was green. It was just really funny. So anytime I think back, I'm like, goodness, thank goodness this happened early in our campaign. We didn't want to have to go, you know, 6 to 8 months and you just find out Sanji's a girl. It's just you're like, oh god.
yeah,
Ugh,
that would have been very awkward.
That'd be so
But
funny if it happened. I'm not
it
gonna
would
lie.
be. Yeah.
speaking of though, like during the character creation, when it came to me wanting to be connected to Sanchi, outside it was like the one thing where I wanted to just have a connection because my character's a wanderer. He would hopefully know somebody,
Mm-hmm.
and I think it was that you had just mentioned that Sanchi was a part of the Thieves Guild, and I was like,
Yep.
that's it, because I'm gonna be part rogue. I think I decided that when you were helping me decide on rogue stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and
Rogue stuff.
where that deeper thought process that you mentioned came in was me consistently asking you if I could make connections to the Blessed Hamlet. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I had the father figure that my character had growing up is Winslow, and is like the great grandson, whatever, however many
Oh
greats,
yeah.
and I won't say what was stolen by Lyric because that's for pure story,
Mm-hmm.
and but that had a connection to the past, and um, even the choice of where he was raised, the area he was raised, uh, Waffler is where Martha uh, reigned, or like
Yep.
that was her land. So it was a connection to Martha and Zemina that I was like, I just want him to be born there.
Aww.
Yeah. Yep.
I
It's
also wanted to have something about Haribo, but I'm like, that's too greedy. I can't steal the legend. That's for ATP to make a connection for.
Haribo! My boy!
truly.
Because Haribo was the speakers.
Oh, there's so much that.
Who
Oh.
knows? Haribo may make an appearance. I don't know. I don't know what Stockeen's got going on up in his noodle right now.
Truly. Truly, truly.
Sometimes his brain works, sometimes it doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I have a question actually. This is wildly kind of only about D&D,
Uh-huh.
specifically our campaign.
Mm-hmm.
How long did you spend figuring out egg names for everything? Like, how long did you just sit down and take like 10 minutes out of your day, or were you like, did you come down with a few, and then like an hour later you were like, oh, that's another good one?
So I knew, like, weirdly enough, like, I was like, okay, if this is gonna be the land of egg, I should probably make them all egg dishes. But then I realized I had so many cities, and I was like, okay, major cities will be after egg dishes. So obviously Benedict, Florentine, and then cuckoo is actually like an Indian cuisine of an egg.
Really?
Yeah,
I thought you were
it's
referencing Zelda.
no,
Honestly, I thought that
no,
too.
no. It's a full blown like Indian way of cooking cuisine, like an egg. And I was like, some sort of
Oh.
egg dish from India. And I was like, cool. And it was like a desert. So I wanted it to be something very, warm climate, very much at the same climate. And I was like, all right, works for me. And that was that. And I was like, all right, cool. And then everything else, I was like, I was getting kind of tired of the egg names because I was just like, okay, I like the major cities, but why would? Because then I was looking at like our current place, and it's like there's Columbus, there's Cincinnati, there's Toledo, and then everything else is kind of like its own weird small name, like Middle Creek or Mount Orb or something like just different. It wasn't like the same like hurrah or like historical like name really. Well, I guess they're all historical, but it just wasn't like it didn't have the same punch to it.
Yeah.
And so I didn't want it to follow the same line of major towns, but I wanted it to still fit in a theme. And so I was just then thinking of like other breakfast foods. So like syrup lore. It's legit just syrup with like OR at the end. Waffler. It's just waffles with OR at the end. Greaseor is just grease with OR at the end of it. Like I made all of them try to be like very like so Greaseor is like, still is, spoiler alert, just the graveyard town. Except now it's just like, really dark. I don't want to call it the Detroit of the land
Oof.
of egg, but like it's just a very sad place to be, which is not Detroit. Unless you're right now a Lions fan and we're all crying, but we're not getting into that topic
Nah,
here
it's
tonight.
all Detroit sports, but Detroit sports fans, I'm gonna be honest, being one for my entire life, we're used to it.
Yep, you're used to them kind of being shitty, but
We're used to
but
all
not
of them being shitty. That's why we go to games
true.
because tickets are cheap.
True. True. But yeah, so it's very much just the dark, grimy kind of town. And grimy was really like the adjective that stuck with me when I was trying to think of vibes for the cities. And I was like, "Oh, what's grimy?" And then I remember touching grease once in a pan, and I was like, "Ugh!" And so Greaseor was like that. And it's funny because like I came up with the names like pretty quickly, but like I had to have a weird life experience to connect myself to them. So like Berry Valley was the only one that didn't have like an OR at the end of it. And I was like, well, what like Hidden Valley Ranch? Berry Valley, they grow berries, which goes on breakfast food, so it fits.
Oh my god.
Like, and that's how I kept like wheezing. I kept trying to convince myself it was okay to put them in there, like this. And I don't know why, but I just like didn't just do it. But I like always had to have some sort of weird. So I was like, Berry Valley is like a farming area. What looks like a farm? And I probably like looked at my ranch bottle and was like, aha, because for whatever reason, ranch bottles always have like weird farms on the back, like in the like past, like in the weird background image, and I don't know why.
You
What a
know,
part of ranch is like? Is it because like those are ranch
And
orchards, like Hidden Valley Ranch? So it's like showing an
it,
orchard because it's a ranch. Like I don't
probably,
know.
like, I guess it's where the dill is grown because like ranch has eggs
Dill,
and dill,
dill.
and
Like I
like
don't. It's so bizarre. And it's like I understand like the orange juice. I understand like
good old
that's
Tropicana
true.
having
Tropicana.
orange fields, but like why City Valley Ranch just have like a field or like I don't get it. But what else are they gonna put back there? Maybe they're just big like Windows 98 fans or something. I don't know. So regardless, and so that's how like a lot of the towns came to be. Was I was just like, what is the vibe of the town? What weird reference can I pull from the town into the name? And
I can
so
respect that.
like I knew berries were grown in like mass amounts, and I was like, okay, I need like a small little home steed kind of farming town, which then ultimately the two brothers, Ronald and
Oh,
Donald.
Ronald and
Donald.
Donald.
Oh, didn't we kill them?
Yes,
Yeah.
but
Like,
possibly,
like we
Did we
killed them in such a
indirectly kill them
like.
though?
yeah,
Oh no,
but
fuck, didn't they also die completely independent of each other? Because I know Winslow and Zeminiar were present for the death of one of them, and Zeminiar pretty much gave an order to do it.
yeah, it was R.I.P.
And I think
Ronald
Miles
and
killed the other one.
Donald.
Or
That
Yeah, I
sounds
think
about
was
so.
Miles?
right.
It sounds like some Miles BS, but yeah,
Because
no.
like
So
I
like,
don't even think he deserved it. I think Miles was just like, "How dare you?"
I
when
mean, you're
did
right.
Like,
when did someone deserve it? That Miles just awful.
The rancher deserved it.
True,
He
true,
made
yeah,
Haribo
yeah.
upset, so like
true.
obviously he had to go.
Like,
The
he
cinnamon roll
had
gets
to.
Hmm.
upset, then that
It's
they did
over.
something wrong.
Everyone died.
Everyone
It's
backed
over.
that up.
Yep, it
Mi-
was rough time, rough time. But yeah,
But
no.
Miles
So
would be
that
like, "I
was
didn't do any of that. I don't know what you're talking about."
talking about immediate denial. I plead the fifth. He pulls a oh my goodness, I'm currently watching this true crime case about this guy named like Dan Markel, and we just got to where his ex-wife is like on the stand asking questions, and oh my goodness, she's literally questioned on like what she has him in her phone, and they're like, oh, you have his in his like your like Dan's name is Gibbers in your phone, and she's like, yeah, and they're like, "Well, can you spell that for us?" She's like, "I don't know. I don't think I've ever written it out. We just said it in person." And it's just like, but it's in your phone, and she's just playing this really like she'll never admit to anything. She just keeps like saying these like she'll just keep adding doubt to it to where like whoever's asking the questions, the story that they're trying to ask or the point they're trying to get to in the questioning will not be clear to the jury, which is why she keeps just throwing all these hooks in. And she's like, or like her brother. They're like, your brother owned like a Ferrari, right? And she's like, well, my brother's into cars, but I don't know what car he owns. He's like, but weren't you close with your brother? You just said you were close with your brother. Yeah, but you didn't know what car he owned. Well, yeah, because I'm not into cars. And she'll just keep doing that. It's very much Miles. Miles will just like put doubt into even the obvious things that he had just stated. He will just make you then question it. He's like ultimate gaslighter. But
Oh my god.
no.
The most famous example has to be when he burned that room of people, and it was just like, they weren't even in here. They left. What are you talking about? There's no other doors.
For real. And you're just like, but we heard screaming.
No, you didn't. Like, that was what he said.
Those
He
were
said,
happy
no, you didn't.
screams. That
shenanigans
whole
he
Miles was a gem in of his own, like the worst kind of gem, the gem that's like he was like a gem of uranium.
truly, truly, God,
Oh my god.
the
Like,
shenanigans that
okay, I have
occurred.
to ask, like, the
Yeah.
was Ziminia and Miles bullshit some of the hardest things to get through sometimes?
I don't think so because I was just like, ah, yes, please go with it. Please. And mind you, writing it back, thank goodness we had the streams. Thank goodness. Because I had to go back in my notes and I'd be like, what the hell does this mean? And I'm like, so I had to go back into the stream because I would write down Zaminiar ate potato off floor, hair was in it, cucumber, squid, they fell downstairs. And I'm like, what? What? Because I'll try to paraphrase it. And I'm like, what the hell is this? And I have to like go back and read it. I'm like, ah, that's right. Because like again, it was like every other week that we were playing it. So it's like 2 weeks real people time. I'm like, I gotta remember all this mess. So I would always have to go back like the night before and like rewatch the stream just to make sure my notes made any lick of sense. Like any of them. I think the hardest thing for me was how many times Miles just wanted to be off on his own. I'm like, my guy, we cannot do this today. You need to be with the group. And so Miles was a bit more of a difficult tangent where Zaminiar was always within some semblance of reason. But Miles was never built as a character to be within reason. He was very much the beat of his own drum. If you don't follow it, I guess you become a sacrifice. That was just how Miles was. And so navigating Miles as a character was very difficult, which is why in this upcoming campaign, I'm like, no, you all know each other. You all are connected. You all do not leave each other's side. And all of you are like, no, I am silent and do not speak to others. And I'm like, ugh. But whatever, you all know each other, so it's fine. It doesn't matter. Whatever. So, whatever you guys want to tell each other, be my guest. Y'all at least you're stuck together and you like each other for some reason. Unspoken reasons. Maybe it's because
But
you
they're
all are
there.
quiet. I don't know. Except for
We all went to
Xandra's character.
class.
Truly.
I feel
Yeah,
like
but
So,
Sanchi. Well, no, Lyric's
yeah.
actually pretty talkative when you get down to it. Just not about
Yeah.
what is close to him. He likes to say a
Uh-huh.
lot of nothing, I feel.
yep.
Yeah.
He basically just insults and like what if you try to say something deep or meaningful, he'll just kind of like sidestep it. Illith might end up getting around that just because she knows things about his people that he's kind of ignored his whole life.
Yep.
But outside of that, like, yeah, no, he tries to say nothing so he doesn't have to say anything. If that makes any sense.
It does a
Yeah.
little bit. Like a very,
Um,
very minuscule bit.
Mm-hmm.
I also think it's going to be really interesting that the guy that played Miles, who wanted to be on his own and often like did go off on his own, is now the new cinnamon roll, and
Yeah.
everyone seems to be looking his way for leadership as a leadership role because we all knew him, and he's been
Yep.
doing thieves guilds. She's been doing thieves guild stuff her whole life, and it's like, okay. And to balance it out, the one person that we didn't really know is over the top friendly and doesn't know social boundaries. So we'll get to know her pretty quick.
Yep. It's this whole upcoming campaign. I'm so excited because I worked real hard because I knew. Because here's another fun little DMing fact. Once you finish your first campaign, depending on how insightful you are and just how aware you are yourself, you can spot your weaknesses or what you then want to refine. And so for me, I knew I needed to refine group continuity and just overall, I wanted to further sharpen my blade on my NPCs because I knew my NPCs were good and I wanted to make sure they stayed good. And like any skill, you need to keep working it or else you will probably lose it unless you're riding a bike. But I'll tell you guys that in a couple of weeks because I'm going to pick up bike riding again. and we'll see if I still remember how to ride a bike. So we'll be putting that to the test. But so I
Oh.
made sure that I wanted to, yeah, I'm a bit too much of a cinnamon roll in a can, if you know what I mean. So I'm trying to get that together. But AKA I washed a pair of jeans and they were very tight on me today and I've been self-conscious of it the whole
Aw.
day. So now I'm like, "Oh no, the dryer made me feel icky." And so now I'm going to start riding bikes and stuff. But anyway, because that's the solution. Not just doing a workout. Nope, I have to go ride a bike for miles on end. But
Do what you gotta
yeah,
do
no.
and feel good about, man.
Exactly. AKA I just need something from mainly like March to like May before swimming season starts off because once swim season starts then I'm there. Unless like, for whatever reason it's not like whatever happens to the pool. Though I am a little traumatized because there's now been 2 times that I found a mouse in there that
Oh.
was dead and it made me really really sad. Um but I have realized I'm like Luann from the King of the Hill and I love cleaning a pool. Not dead mice though. Dead mice freak me out. Like anytime, like the first one I didn't even get myself and then I left the pool and then the second one I did clean out myself because I then heard like a little family coming in of children and I was like, okay, if I'm scarred, I cannot imagine what this is going to do to them. So I had to like get it out and then I just literally like I feel so bad cuz I did not bury this mouse, but then I just like kind of like put the net back on the rack and then I just kind of like stayed on the opposite side and like shook it onto the ground and I was like, may you rest in peace in this bowl of ivy or whatever this is, and I just left and I never told them about it and I was just like, I hope those family didn't see any of that because I know like the where the doorway is, the mom may have seen me doing something with the cleaner but just didn't know what I was doing because I was like shaking it because the little foot was like stuck in the net. It was really sad. But I was like, no, like it was the most like suspenseful ever. So I
Ah.
don't know because I also go swimming in the morning, so I'm the first one to see like if anything's in there. You would think maintenance would check, call out to maintenance, get it together, but
They're
you
maintenance.
know,
They're not gonna do shit.
yeah, yeah, it's tragic. But anyhow, yeah, so I'm picking up biking again and keeping those skills honed if I remember how to ride a bike. We're about to find out real quick in public because why would I ever do it in like a private setting to see if I fall on my face? No, 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 no. I'm gonna go on my like 76-mile bike trail and be like, okay, let's go drive all the way here, get the bike out of the car, get it all set up, and then just take 2 like wibblies and be like, you know what? It wasn't for me. I'm just gonna go get me some Popeye's chicken wings and cry. But
Look,
no,
don't be dissing them Popeye's chickens.
I will never. Popeye's chicken Sammy is
They shouldn't
there's
be that kind
nothing
of sauce.
that
Poor,
compares.
poor
But
Zero.
truly. But yeah, no. Definitely just you'll learn what you need to work on or what you want to work on or where your kind of weaknesses were. And that's definitely kind of the one of the ones that I knew I needed to do. Was world continuity, like making the group an actual group, and then just really furthering my NPCs, which this one I made a lot more. There's a lot more NPCs that you guys get to interact with because I'm pulling the references I'm pulling for this one is similar, of course, because it's still all in the same land and everything. But where I'm pulling straight references from and just the overall like setting of the campaign
Yeah.
is very different. And so I wanted to make sure and make it have more of that feel unironically. I've only seen a bit of the gameplay and listened to one song for probably 12 hours on repeat, but it's weirdly enough reminding me a lot of Persona 5 and how you just have so many people you can talk to in a
Oh yeah.
weird setting. And it's very that, though I've never played the game, but just the visuals that I've seen, I'm like, wow, my campaign kind of reminds me of this. And
Hopefully
Excellent.
without the cat.
right? Or just in general, any video game where you have a bunch of characters to talk to and kind of get quest from or learn more from. Like, I wanted to build more of those and make sure the players and the characters felt very much like not necessarily at home, but definitely they felt like they fit in the world and the world around them and the people around them. So there's going to be already some disdain between some people possibly. And yeah, so there's a whole bunch of slew of people that you guys get to meet and really kind of decide what path or who you don't and do want to make friends with, because there's a lot of things that there's choice always in my campaigns. It's another big thing is I love a good
Choose
what
your own
choice you
adventure
take.
game.
Exactly. And I'm very excited. I'm very excited for some things I'm going to be researching as well, which will further help push down the line of the campaign. Nothing recently that you guys will be doing, but down the line. So, yeah, it's we got a lot of fun stuff. I have a lot of fun stuff in the works, and I even have some videos that I filmed already, all the way back to like April, I think, of last year when I first started planning everything. And so for the first arc finale and kind of like tell all that we'll do for the first arc, some of that will be in there. So look forward to some real behind the scenes knowledge of this campaign and whatnot.
That'll be a
So
good one.
oh yeah, it's wild. I was rewatching some of it recently and I was like, holy cow. Holy cow. So, yeah, there's a bunch. But what's next? What do you guys want to talk about?
I want to know what your
Mhm.
thoughts are on character creation, because we touched on it very lightly. Um,
Mhm.
and I know specifically when you DM, you give us the option of either creating it in a group setting or creating
Mhm.
it one on one. But then you
Mhm.
also, when you do the one on one sessions, you like to do the random dice rolls.
Oh, yes. Oh lord. So one thing I've recently learned to love about it is if you guys find it online or purchase it, in person, which I recommend so much more than just finding it online, definitely. I do actually fully recommend it because I have an obsession with tabbing my D&D books, so I look like a college student, but for D&D nerds. So in the book, Xanathar's Guide to Everything, there is these tables to roll your origin, your character's origin. And as we know, I love improv and just anything random rolled. I think it just adds 800 layers to your character creation and campaign. Did it with my character for the first time in a campaign that has now already dissolved, but literally had one session and it fell apart.
Oh
But
wow.
regardless, it was the first time I was going to ever play a lawful good character too. Hence why the biggest tragedy in her life was a healthy breakup. But and I random rolled that, mind you, ladies and gentlemen. There was chance. There's literally a 90% chance on everything else to go bad. I rolled the healthy breakup. So, yeah, definitely look into the origins table. I use it a little bit differently because I want to give my people and players a lot more points to connect. Because traditionally you would only roll like the adventures table or the arcane table if you needed to for the life events you got. But I don't do it that way. I make you guys roll them anyways because it just gives you more fodder to use or not use. Rounder characters, the better. And for me, character creation, I know the first time we did it in a group setting, a lot of people, it was their first time using Roll20, which is the system we use for online gameplay. I know there's a bunch of other ones, but I like this one despite all of its bugs. On the DM side of things, it's really good. But depending what browser you use also really helps with Roll20. Technically the one I use is unsupported, but I don't have a lot of the issues that it seems like everyone else has. So I don't know. But I also pay, so maybe they're just really nice to me. Yes, I do have the subscription because I'm that much of a nerd. AKA I needed the memory space because I just have that big of campaigns and what have you.
We can respect
But
that.
when we did the first one in group, it felt very chaotic and it just felt like things were rushed or things had to be done after the math. So this time around, I knew. I was like, nope. One, we know Roll20 now for the most part. We know it. We're going to do it one on one because there's also a lot of things that I noticed people would have to message me, or they'd be like, oh, I don't want to tell everyone in person or in front of them. So I was like, let's do it one on one. So you don't have to worry about other people. And then we'll have the group session anyways after most characters are made, or when you're at least doing the character sheet, however much you wanted to get done. So you guys can fully establish that connection as a group. If you're wanting your players to start as a group, I recommend it. It works very well. Or you can go with everyone's favorite opening. Well, I was in a bar once, and we all saw a poster, and we're like, "Oh, you're all going for that poster? Okie dokley." And then
You
you go on this
also
weird
want to
other,
hunt down Straw Hat Luffy? Well, okay.
wow, okie dokley.
Absolutely.
So they then do all that. However you want to start it. For me, I've learned, especially in a streaming sense. So there's a much bigger difference between a streaming campaign and a physical in-person one, or even just one that's not streamed. There is a difference. When you are streaming, you want your group to be a group. It's very nice to have them as a group, because if not, they're going to want to possibly split and go off on their own, and it's very hard to do split the party on stream stuff. Um just in general, depending on how your setup is. With our setup, it's not very conducive. Don't worry, I got a solution for that, folks. But the solution is I'm just having everyone that isn't there muting their cute little mic, except for the one hosting the stream. They just have to sit there very, very quietly. So everyone will be able to hear, or I can make all y'all fools deafen in beautiful Discord until, further
You
notice.
get a message.
Yep. So I'll find a way. We'll test a few things out and see which way works best. But overall, it's different. Streaming DM versus non-streaming DM. I recommend putting them in a group first. So, yeah. That's kind of that character creation. You could do it however. Most people just do one session, big group hoopla. I know our group, we all are crazy busy, so we have set times of when we could do X, Y, and Z, and we do X, Y, and Z. And we only have like those 3 hours, and then whenever we can fit it in. So it was better for us and our schedule to just kind of do it one on one and then do the big group one, to just really give everyone their moment to shine and have the true attention of the DM, which I liked. I felt like it was really, really good. And the things that came out of the one on one character creations was some of the best stuff that I had seen in a while. And I feel so excited for these characters and just how they're going to play in my world. So I thought doing both was really, really good. And I think from here on out, especially with streamed campaigns, probably going to be the same way. My non streamed ones, the group I play with in those, they know Roll20 like the back of their hand. So by the time we get to character creation, they probably already have their character sheet done.
Dang.
So then we're just sitting there talking. Yeah, the other group is savants compared to me in Roll20, and they pretty much, they all have their own separate like game or campaign in Roll20 that just has character sheets for days, and they're like, oh, we're playing a campaign, cool, I built up this, and they just import a character sheet they already made, and it's done. And so they're just
Dang.
having to sit there and talk to the group and kind of be like, oh, that would be a really cool idea, or how about this? So they bounce a lot more ideas off of each other. And so they just kind of do it on their own. I don't really need to do much. I just need to answer their questions, which is what most of it is me answering questions, them being like, cool, I could use that in my backstory for the other campaign I'm doing, which is Jumanji Jang. Yes, it's based off of Jumanji. Very fun campaign. Very excited. Um, we did all of our origin roles from Xanathar's together in that session, because pretty much everyone was done with their character sheet or did the basis of it, and then we all rolled our origins together, and it was really, really fun. except for Taylor. Taylor had to leave early. So we had
Aw.
to so she rolled them last night when we had gaming. So it was fine. Either way she got them rolled. But so we did that like in there, and so it just depends on what you want your character creation to be.
Yeah.
I think. I My non-streamed ones are very much more lax, but that just depends on who you're playing with and what their comfortability is with the system you're using, if it's online or if it's in person. It's even more fun because then they just have the paper in front of them, or they use D&D Beyond on a tablet or something, and however they do it from there. So, but if you know you're going to build a serious campaign that your characters are probably good, your players are going to want to have like very secretive backgrounds, which, spoiler alert, almost every player does. They want to have the secret background. They don't want to talk about it. The drama, and this, that, and the third, which
That's
I
true.
love.
As humans, we are very
Like
wanting of the drama.
the drama, the drama, and just
Drama.
the overall mystery. We love a good mystery in a character because most people in their lives are very, they are who they are. There's not much mystery to their life or mysticism. You're playing in a fantasy world. That's literally what it's meant for. So of course they're gonna go for it. And so having that one-on-one time is so good because then they get to talk out those ideas and you don't have to worry about anyone else listening because no one else is there. You don't have to go into be like, okay, here's my office. Let us talk about how we're all connected. Like, I feel like that's very much like an interview. Instead, I'd rather just have the one-on-one and go from there. So
Right.
that's what we did. But yeah, it was a good time because, oh boy, this set of cast. Oh, I'm so excited. There is some things came up in some people's character creations that I was not ready for. But when it happened, I wasn't mad. I wasn't mad in the slightest. Did it change a lot of things? Oh, yes. Am I mad? Oh, no. And so, yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot coming out of some of these characters that I think once we reveal or things get revealed, my goodness, I cannot wait to end the season there on the cliffhangers and be like, all right, and we're taking a week off. See you guys next month.
Oof.
Call it a day. And just leaving it sit there. Like, ooh, I can't wait. Can't wait. It's just like right now. I finally caved and I'm fully caught up in the Jujutsu Kaisen manga. And I am going ballistic and not knowing what the heck is going on next. And yeah, I'm losing it. But yeah, character creation. So,
Honestly, like, character creation is one of my, like, it's one of the most tedious parts, I feel, but it's one of my more favorite parts.
mm-hmm, absolutely.
And it's just like, once you get into it, like, then you get, like, you're already excited for the campaign, but then you get more excited. And you're like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
okay, I can see things coming around now.
Yeah. And both of you guys have DM'd, right? I know you have ATP Zero. Have you DM'd?
Never on stream and never in a like typical campaign. Like I had to. I think both the times I've DM'd, I had to go off a completely different way of doing things. Like
Your
the Ruby
campaigns were fun,
campaign.
though.
Yeah, I really missed the Ruby campaign. That was fucking. I loved the characters that went on in it, and I think for a while we didn't have dice, so I just had them. I just had them pick a number to see if they got close to what I was thinking of, and then eventually it was I think a spinner for a little while, and basically like the results from each of the still ended up very D&D. Like no matter what happened, um like there were moments that were really cool because people would still get the critical fucking guess. Like that one guy threw an arm so hard from the bottom of a cliff that it went up, saved ATP's character,
No, it saved Plant's character, and then still flew further to slap ATP's character.
Yep. Yep.
And
And at that point, I remembered not having a name, and that was just the luck of it, where we're just like, you know what? Let's just name him Ron Stoppable,
yeah,
and that
that was.
became his name.
And then like we'd still have critical failures too. The biggest one being the one that had. Uh, it was probably my favorite session actually because we did it at the little tavern place that was by your old apartment.
Yeah,
And
yeah. I steer.
yeah, so Kawaii Yume's no, before that, ATP's character was just down by the river, got covered by a couple of fucking grim snakes, and everyone tried to help, and everyone helped way too much. Kawaii Yume rolled super well and then got massive damage, so she cut straight through all of it, including ATP's character Unstoppable.
Yup.
And then Plant's character tried to help and made it all the more worse. And thank God, Isabel. Like I remember her, Tog's character too. Like thank God she didn't help because he definitely would have died. And in that
Oh, for
moment
real.
when
She
all that
hated me
went
at
down,
that point. So, like, there
yep,
was no way she was helping me.
oh yeah, and while all this is going down, mind you, we didn't notice that the bartenders were like looking and like anticipation for what was going to happen to ATP's character because it just kept getting worse every single action.
I was
Cool.
primed, like, and prepped to die.
Yeah,
Cool.
and I'd taken a couple of things that you mentioned when it came to the story and everything because before we had ever started, I had decided it's going to be in this world. Like we decided it was going to be in that world of Ruby from Rooster Teeth, and then I decided it was going to go back in time to one of the warring periods because that was already in the story. So I took, uh, since I was taken from the source material, I took from the source material. Um, at the time, one of the characters was known to be a reincarnating character, so I put that into it, made him the helper character, and basically built everything off of the existing lore, trying to make sure that I didn't overstep or understep, and it made it really like easy to put them in a situation where they're all coming from different sides, but they got to work together because now they're gonna die if they don't.
Mhm.
And because I had no idea. I just forced them into that corner because I had no idea how the hell I was gonna make them all be from different continents and still work together otherwise.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
I don't remember what the other campaign was.
um, it was
But
another one that was meant to be longer, but it was before the Ruby campaign. I do remember that.
oh well, I can't remember. Um,
I think it was supposed to be one for the channel.
oh yeah, no, actually, I'm still working on that in the background. I don't know if it's going to be our next campaign after this or what, but that's another one that's based on another series. That'll be the Tower of God,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and which, by the way, I don't know how I haven't found a D&D Tower of God when it's for like 2 straight years. It was the most popular Miwa, and it was like a popular anime when it came out, and it's literally styled kind of like if D&D was all underwater. Like there's literal classes, there's subclasses, and I'm like, this is literally writing itself.
Mm.
How the fuck has it not been done yet? Why?
Not
Like there's
Truly.
surprising.
a D&D for Doctor Who, and Doctor Who doesn't even have anything that could be considered classes outside of a doctor.
Oh,
Uh,
Lord. But my question is, what's one tip that you could give for DMing from you guys? We've all heard mine, so tonight's all been. What about you guys? You both have DM'd. What would you say the most helpful tip is from you guys?
Ooh, embrace spontaneity. Uh, because the big thing I learned with D&D, and that was from DMing multiple campaigns at this point. The one that was played for the channel, essentially was one of the few that I've done. Uh, but Tori, I know you touched on this a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
but the hard part of DMing is having a set story and you want to write it out. You want it to go a certain way. You have it in your mind. But you also have to remember that you're playing with other people that don't necessarily know what you have planned. Sure, you can have like little roadmaps for them and have like the layout of the story that you want, and like yes, definitely have that. Have notes and have everything written down, but make sure you also leave room for your characters to be spontaneous. And that's
Yep.
something that I know Tori does very, very, very well, where she has like different scenarios and things already mapped out. Because, she's even notorious for saying this uh, multiple times after a session, is that she has weeks of stuff planned out for things that we might get through pretty quickly. But the reality is, we don't get through things very quickly. The most obvious one was when we spent half a
the big
session making
table.
mashed potatoes. Tori didn't know we were gonna make mashed potatoes for this feast that we didn't need to bring anything to, but we decided to bring mashed potatoes. Why? 'Cause we're fucking polite.
There's literally no other reason. We
Yep,
were just like, we have to take something.
yep. And that's where DMs truly can shine, but it also is almost an Achilles heel. If you want your players to be too spontaneous and you don't have anything mapped out, um, what are your characters going to do? But at the same time, if you have every single thing mapped out to the point where you get frustrated that the players aren't following your map to a T, that's when it's not fun for the players. So definitely leave
Mm-hmm.
room for the players to be spontaneous and let them ad lib. It makes it more fun.
Mm-hmm. Ooh, 0.
Um, Something that I practiced in the Ruby campaign, and that you've definitely practiced in the Blessed Hamlet, is use this, therefore this in writing. Basically, if something happens, make the world react around it properly. Sometimes that's just like a small little ripple, like uh, Zeminiar messed with a random guard by a ship, and then the next time we saw him, he was really depressed
Oh,
because
I forgot about that.
sometimes it's just that small.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes, um, like, like I'm trying to think of one that's hilarious instead of one that's another one that's hilarious instead of one that's really depressing because there was a lot of snowballs that started very early in the Blessed Hamlet. But
Well, I
Um,
think,
the Sunny dying one is a big one.
yeah.
was it? Because our characters all acted like, oh, okay, that happened. Like Minyar made a bigger deal about it than anyone because Minyar came back from a random portal thing and was like, "Where'd Sunny go?" And everyone just went, "She died," and that
Well,
was
the
that
big
was all
thing
that happened.
the big thing with that was that because Sunny died, Winslow ended up getting so fed up with the puzzle that he just left.
Yep.
Yeah, and so like because Sunny died, Winslow got fed up and left. And like, did Tori plan for the puzzle to go out like that? No, but that's how that happened.
Nope.
And
What
Not
she
was
at
it?
let
all.
it.
We mentioned something. I don't remember what it was that we mentioned to Harold, but it ended up with him later on being a drunken fucking mess.
Yeah.
And then he was kind of like that for a while.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Harold
Or
Tree.
Poor Harold.
I guess from my own experience,
Oh,
Zero, Zero, where
oh
are
no.
you?
unit.
Oh, you cut out for a long minute. Could you re-say that?
What was the last thing you heard?
Uh, honestly, I don't think we
Uh,
heard any of it. We
we
heard,
didn't.
yeah, we heard
Oh,
about we heard about Harold being depressed for a hot minute, and then you were like, "Speaking of which," and you just went silent.
oh. I don't really know where I was going with the Harold thing because I couldn't remember what we did to him to cause him to be a drunken mess for a while. I can't remember what it
I
was, but
think it
we
was
like
Gilly's death.
it was either Gilly's death or had something to do with his Cyrus. And
Mm-hmm.
Either's
either way,
plausible.
like most of the time, he actually is a really good example because most of the time we tried stepping in to him and Cyrus's situation, we made things worse for him. A lot of times, like it ended up being he had to go off and do this duty away from where she was, or um, like she got stuck at the island.
Mm-hmm.
And I thinking we didn't end in the timeline where I'm pretty sure she got executed. What wasn't she supposed to get executed in the timeline that we started in?
Yeah.
And that was also our fault because the world we were uh, basically sticking our noses in business that wasn't ours and trying to convince them to kindle this romantic relationship. Part of it was this is also like one of those things that came purely from information Zeminiar got that he had to wriggle on, was that a possible future for everyone was that Harold and her were supposed to be married and he was going to be the hero. So he was trying Zeminiar was always trying to protect Harold and encourage him to do things like that that would lead to that future. And but he couldn't say anything. So he was messed up. So even like all to just Tori putting that one little bit of story in caused a ripple effect that changed so much in the story, and it continued to affect the characters that we were getting involved with. And in the Ruby campaign, at one point, the team ended up fighting someone from Plant's neck of the woods, and because of that, another unit close by was on high alert, and they ended up attracting a captain. I didn't necessarily tell them that's why they got caught, but that's why they got caught. And through that, we also captured Kawai's character, who, while begrudgingly came with us, still almost killed ATP. I just wanted to bring that last part up again. That because it's
um,
fucking hilarious.
she also was knocked out for the first session of the campaign that she was a part in. And
Yeah,
she was so frustrated. Honestly, I feel like she did knock me out because like I did essentially like keep calling her out for being knocked out. Like that was her revenge. And I'm like, you know what?
and
I deserve this. I'm a dick. Okay.
And again,
Ooh.
working from the smaller scale of that, like work letting the world move around the character's actions. With that, going back to the hand thing with Isabel, cutting off someone's hand and throwing it, that a moment like that in a different spot saved Ron Stoppable. I believe it was an arrow randomly shot from Plant, made its way onto a character that had ATP pinned down.
Yep.
You were saved and damaged by a lot of coincidence in that entire thing. And I even but working off of characters, it follow that to combat too, not just like character actions and story and combat. One of my favorite things, and Tori is notorious for letting letting the characters like make something up as they're doing it, or even coming up with something for them to do with combat sequences. What I ended up doing a lot in the Ruby campaign was letting characters use each other's attacks. One of my favorites being Plant shot a Grim in the head, and then ATP. It became the norm that this would happen, but ATP hammered the arrow all the way through and killed the Grim. Similarly, ATP would basically kill steal the entire game. Coming
Yup.
up with someone else's critical hit. Like someone would bring down the weakness, and then bam, there's that hit.
Get it?
Unstoppable
And
was good at that.
then my had the famous like follow up to the throw. Actually, the entire gang had an amazing follow up to the whip throw. A bear trap to the leg, zappy on the eyes, stab to the. It just make it work, and let like ATP said, give that create. If you let the players have a bit of creative freedom with their actions, it'll only enrich in the story and make the journey that from point A to point B that you're trying to get them to all the more fun.
Yeah. Because in the end,
That's
it's
like
just about
the
the
whole
play.
point of
It's about the
D&D.
players as much as it is about telling the story. And like
Mhm.
Tori, I can never give you enough props for doing like
Thank
what you
you.
do and making sure it is as fun for the players as it is like for you.
Yeah. Hmm.
And as
Wow.
players and DM, be
Have
okay
fun.
with player deaths, like
Yep.
and replacing characters if needed.
Yeah.
Like I know there's a lot of reasons to be attached to a character you create, especially if it's a long ongoing character. But there was more than one time that I was completely prepared for Zeminiar to be written out because he died like 4 times in that story.
Mm-hmm.
So, and
Honestly, same. I was
ready,
ready for Haribo to go at one point, and I'm like, oh, okay.
and because it can be like for one, it can be a good story boost for all the other characters involved. It creates
Mm-hmm.
immediate drama for the new character you create to come in, being the person that has to replace the old one. And as for a DM, you have to find a way to get the characters to not only care that the character died, but to figure out what you're going to do with the empty plot threads that are left behind, or if you're even going to bring it up. It
Yep.
like it's a fun thing to deal with, and it can be frustrating to have to re-roll a new character. But hell, maybe this character can be more fun. Maybe you can do something that you thought was cool in the middle of the game as that other character. Now you can do that.
Mm-hmm.
And for the DM, maybe they're going from a character that's hard to keep track of to a character that's a little easy to keep track of. It can always be to your benefit.
Truly. Truly. And I mean that's like honestly one thing I didn't even really bring up because character death is one so hard to do in 5th edition at least. It is so hard to die unless you tell your DM, "No, I want this to be their end." Like cuz if not,
Pull a Harry
unless you
Potter. I'm ready to die.
right, like unless you really like tell your DM like it's hard to die in 5th edition. It genuinely is. And I think also that like making the characters like in it makes your world more round if people die around them and not just the creatures they are killing. Like Gilly, for example. I
Aw.
knew from the jump Gilly was gonna die. I knew from the very beginning because Gilly was one, she wasn't needed. She was unnecessary because in the original cursed egg, Gilly didn't exist, which means Gilly had to be gone before that timeline hit because Ginger was alive and had in the original campaign, Taylor was playing as Ginger, who was brought in during this own crazy arc of when I brought in Candyland Willy Wonka stuff. Um and so she wanted to make a character all based on candy, and so her she was a warlock, and her patron was Lord Licorice, and what have you, and that whole thing. And so I knew Ginger existed. Ginger had to exist because she was relatives with Hamlet and Harold, but Gilly wasn't there. And I was like, well, I don't want to kill off Ginger because I need Ginger there.
And
I
so, mommy.
need Hamlet. I need Obviously I need Hamlet. I need Harold, obviously. I need both of them to be, polar opposites essentially. So who can I lose? And I was like, well, I could just add someone in. Easy. And at that point I had also known, or at that point we had character creation, so I knew Haribo and ATP was going to be drawn to this character Gilly. And I was like, cool, I have an in. Like, I knew when that death moment hit, it was gonna be rough. And I remember looking forward to that session for a very long time.
Poor
And
Haribo.
Until it started.
yep. And then once it began, and how it all turned out, and how it turned out was not, how she had died was not my plan. But
Really? Very
no.
brutal.
I mean, I knew she was going to die. I knew she was going to die at an event. I knew that for a fact. I knew it was going to be at that event, and this, that, and the third. But originally, what was going to happen was there was something else I had planned. But then Zero ended up having to miss a session. And we were having our, once you miss a session, you get to go to a completely different place and have a grand old meeting with some other folks, with Keffy and all of that, or Hamlet if you're Ziminiar, and from there, or both if you're Ziminiar.
Hell up.
And from there, he like, it was just a really kind of like, when I was planning out the miss session, because I can't plan miss sessions, which is what you have to adapt to. You have to be very adaptable and know that, okay, if a character misses, what am I going to do? And how do I make a makeup plan for that? And in short, when I was writing it all out, I was like, oh, this is going to be dark, because I knew the group was getting really solidified. There was some members that were obviously at odds, Miles and everybody, but except for like Herbo, I think it's the
No,
only one
Haribo
that was
got mad at him every now
oh
and
yeah,
a
no.
lot,
I think
actually.
I think it was, but I'm trying to remember who Miles actually, I guess it was Winslow. Well, no, because he's kind of racist towards
He was
Winslow.
mean to Winslow.
Yeah, I was like, who was? I don't think Miles was nice to anybody, but he started
He
being nice to
he liked
Harbo.
Haribo.
He
Yeah,
did.
he really liked Haribo, and at some points he actually
Haribo.
raised his bar for Winslow just
Yeah,
because of how good Zamini are.
yeah.
Yeah,
And
yeah, I do
so
remember that conversation.
letting Zaminiar be the one to do it was, I was like, oh, this will be good. This is gonna add a lot of role playing aspects to start the session off, because mind you, your session of pushing her off was literally where we ended, and then we went into the chat, and that's where we picked up. They just witnessed you push off Gilly, and that was it. And so, like, all of it was genuine and raw roleplay there, and that's really what I tried to do with the live, with it being streamed. I want it to be as authentic as possible, and let the players just all be in like a and then that's that. So
Real that fucking got. So like every time something
yeah.
bad around Gilly happened, like that was almost genuine rage coming every time,
Yep.
because when you did that, I was like, fuck. And it didn't even have to be at that point. I was just like, fuck. I'm so fucked. There's a guy who has literally kicked my ass down there.
Yep.
And it was our job to protect her, and now he already wants to slap me. Now it's like,
It was a wild. That was probably one of my favorite sessions to date. Like, just that whole off screen onto screen. Like that was beautiful. I was like, dang, I peaked. But no, but
I
yeah,
didn't think Gilly was going to be that important as a mini R, but because of all the ways that Hamlet fucked with him, it got there. And then
it got there.
there was that like blind rage where Zeminiar just turned into a fucking gorilla going through
Yep.
silent Hill because of like we were there with her, we finally could protect her again. And no,
Yep.
Wasn't that the point where
Woo!
Zeminiar just like gave up?
Yeah, he snapped.
yeah, pretty much. Well, at that point he was raging, and then after the rage he gave up. That was about the time I think we went to Dragon number 2.
Oof.
Yep. But in short, folks, because our time has ended, have fun with it. Do what you are comfortable with and just have fun. It's just a game. Have fun. That's what you're there to do.
And
Don't
don't
let it
get
get too serious.
frustrated.
Yep,
Exactly.
don't get frustrated. Don't ruin friendships over a D&D campaign. Just have fun.
Don't
If
make
you
it
don't
turn
like
into League of
somebody,
Legends where it's toxic
yep,
as fuck.
don't do
No.
it. Don't become, what other toxic fandoms are there? The My
My
Hero
Hero.
fandom. Yeah, I was like, who else is toxic? Just don't do it. Have fun. Come watch our stream tomorrow since we are doing Hot the Full Boyfriend, I think,
We
is
sure
tomorrow.
are, Tori.
We're doing Hot the Full Boyfriend, that we just got to such a good spot in Dr. Decker, which also ironically takes place on Valentine's Day. So we could have just done Dr. Decker the whole time had I remembered that fun fact, but I didn't.
I
So,
mean, next
oops.
week is Dr. Decker, and that's like the day
Yep,
before Valentine's Day. So I think we planned it out
exactly.
perfectly.
I think so too. So we get to go to one of my favorite games, Hot the Full Boyfriend. And oh boy, so much voice acting will be happening tomorrow. So we
Pigeon
got to keep our voices
voices.
safe. Other than that, you all have a great time. I think Wednesday's the last stream of this week, correct?
Uh,
Friday.
yeah,
Friday.
you've got
Oh,
Friday.
yep.
Friday. Lips the Kajat. Don't think about it, but think about it.
Woo!
I thought they were
Well,
called Khajiits.
Kajit,
Khajiits.
Kajats. I cannot pronounce things.
Bless.
That makes it even better.
But good night, guys. Have fun. Join the Discord. Subscribe to our stuff, and we will see you tomorrow.
Yeah. Have a good night,
Toodles.
guys. Bye.
Thanks.